What's up, my fellow parents? Being married with children, it's kind of like a dream come true. For me, it actually is a dream come true. I was dreaming about this since I was a teenager, just being a dad and being a husband and having a happy family. And it's just wonderful. It just brings out the best in me and just invited me into whole new forms of love and humanity. And I'm just being honest with you, it's so freaking hard. I'm like a professional parent. I have a popular parenting podcast, the Sean Donohue Show. And it's like, listen to the top 10 parenting podcasts of the world.
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's hard for me. And so it's just so hard. And so, like, no one ever told me it was going to be this hard. I just thought it was going to be so great being a parent, take my kids to Disneyland, take them to the lake, just maybe share my hobbies with them and hugs and kisses. So not only is it hard, but then what they don't tell you is you have this other adult in your life, your spouse, your co-parent, your baby mama, whatever you want to call it. And they're telling you what to do. They're telling you don't do this, don't do that. I don't like it when you do this. Let's parent them this way. Let's do it this way, not that way. It's like, what the crap is that? And so parenting is so tough. It's and people don't really talk about how hard it is, huh, Jordan?
No, we always glamorize the beautiful parts of it, like the cuddle sessions and the hugs
Ooh.
and the "I love you, mommy, I love you, daddy." It's like, oh, it's so
Mommy.
sweet,
They are
and
they
it
are
is.
good.
It's amazing how much our kids could tug at our heartstrings, make our heart
Yeah.
melt, and yet make us just want to scream at the
Oh
same
my
time.
gosh.
It can
Oh
be very challenging, and for
gosh.
some, more challenging than others.
Yeah, that's true. And even in the 10 years, I went to a wedding in Seattle, Washington. My cousin's daughter got married, and they played some songs. And my one daughter, they had make a circle in the dance floor at a wedding, and my
Yeah.
daughter pulls me out there to go
Oh,
dance with
that's so
her.
sweet.
And then another time later on, my two daughters pull me out, and then we pull our third daughter out. So for me, I'm sitting here dancing with three daughters in the middle of a wedding, and it's like literally we probably danced if for me we probably danced for about 5 seconds total, because
Sure, but
you're
time
like in
slowed
the
down
middle, then you
probably.
get out.
Yeah.
Time slowed
Yeah.
down for me. It felt like this is what it's about. Like
It
this is one of the
is.
greatest moments of my life.
I hope
But
when we move on to the other side, or whenever we're done with this life,
yeah,
there's like a highlight reel of our
me
lives,
too.
That would be in
I
it.
I think about that. I honestly, I've been saying this a lot. I'll be like praying to God. I'll be like, God, can you just like when I get up there, can you just make a little tab, make a little reminder? I want to replay this moment.
Right. There's
Right?
going to be different tabs. There's going to be like the highlight reel, the low light reel. You just want to ignore that one. And sometimes those reels will be from the same dang day.
Oh, 5 minutes later, right?
Yeah.
Same conversation. Oh, that's how crazy. It's so up and down. So today, here's what we're going to refer to it. So when a lot of people hear the term co-parenting, what they envision is two people who are divorced, split, or live in two different homes. And they have to then figure out how to co parent together. And that is true. But what I have found in that in the last 5 years, the term co parenting has just become an everyday term. Even if you are married or you live and you have the same, you share a child together, you live in the same house, you're still co parenting together. So, Jordan, what do you think about the term co parenting? If we didn't call it co parenting, what would we call it?
I mean, my honest opinion, I think it's silly. I think it's not. I think it's so dumb to label
The
this thing.
term?
The term is so dumb
Oh,
to
okay.
me. I'm just being honest.
I think
Like,
my wife would agree. Tell me
you're a
more.
parent.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're a it's like you don't say hi. I'm a co-parent. You are a parent. And so my question to these people who call
Yeah.
themselves co-parents, are the grandparents also co-parents? Do you call them
Heck no.
co-parents too? Why not? Because you're
Okay.
parenting,
Yeah, that's
the
true.
other person's parenting, but maybe the grandparents are parenting also, so they should be co-parents. No, that's not what it is. To me, I think
Okay.
it's just
That's fair.
silly. It's like
That's
you're the
fair.
parents. You got a
But
mom
then
and a
what
dad,
else
or
would we call it? Because it's about like teamwork and parenting. You just want to call it that. Isn't co-parenting just a little easier to say?
no, why are we talking about why do we have to put it in together as a team? Of course it's a team effort. Why do we have to categorize it as a co-parent?
All
Not
right. Well,
just
just shut up
you're
for
the
a second because
parents.
this episode is going to be called "How."
I know exactly.
I
It's
get it.
exactly. Now,
All right.
now if you're I see people use this term when they're divorced or separated. It's
Yes.
like, "Oh, well
Yes.
we've decided we're not going to stay together, but we're going to co-parent
Okay.
this child." It's like, "Well, no, duh,
Right.
you
Right.
are. Like, this is your kid.
Yeah.
This is your
Right.
kid. You're going to parent the
Right.
kid.
Yes. All right. So for this episode, what we're going to refer to two terms. We'll call it, how about this? You probably like this term, how to be a great partner. You like that?
Oh, okay. The great partner. No,
You like
co-parent
that?
works. It works for it's
Okay.
because I'm not in your world. You hear this a lot more than
Yeah,
me.
it's true.
So to me, I'm like, this
Vocabulary.
is so weird.
Yeah.
Why are we changing the term? They're the
Yeah.
parents. Why are they
For
co-parent? They're the parents. But you are getting so many different backgrounds and dynamics
Yeah,
from
man.
these
Yeah.
broken
And I got to kind of
families.
be like, I have to, in a good way too, I get to learn about all these different cultures
Right.
and different ways of people thinking. And so, like, and I learn it's just, and then I play around with these words. So yeah. So first, let's do a little history on co-parenting
Okay.
without using any history books, because I wasn't around in the 1950s. All I know is that they made cool cars
Mm-hmm.
and
Good music.
good music, 50s, early 60s. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at some pictures, there wasn't as many clothing styles. Like it exploded more like in the late 60s. People, like especially men, they wore these basic shirts, right?
Yeah.
Collared shirts. They tucked them in. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
look pictures of your grandparents, even your parents when they were in high school.
Collar, a lot of collared shirts. Yep.
But let's imagine, I wasn't parenting back then, but I would have to imagine that in a lot of homes, let's just say American homes, because I'm just like making this up. I have no research in front of me. I would imagine that there wasn't a lot of partnership going on in a lot of homes. In
I
that
see. I see where
I,
you're going with this.
I
Right.
think I'm just guessing. Either A, the mother did all the parenting, and
Right.
the dad just totally stayed out of it. Was
Or
very
did the
passive,
punishing. Right.
or avoidant, or did the punishment. Or B, you had these harsh authoritarian men that were
Mm-hmm.
like very controlling, and they pretty much controlled the children and even like try to control his wife. I'm just
Right.
totally making this up based on movies I've watched, man. Like,
Sure. Sure. But I
do you
see that
do you
style. We
see
can
that
all
too?
picture that 100%.
You can picture that too?
We can picture that. It's a more um, conservative, family dynamic where the male is the worker, the
Yeah,
female stays home, cooks, cleans, takes care of the kids. So this dynamic that you're painting,
the
we
roles.
can we can all understand where you're going with this.
Like I think my grandfather, my late grandfather, was an amazing grandfather, but I think he was based on what I'm hearing from my mom and my aunt, I think he was a pretty limited slash bad father.
Mm,
He abused them physically, verbally, mentally. He said mean things to them. And I think he really just tried to think of good fatherhood as, I'm just here to provide for you financially and maybe
right.
protect you. But in the end, I think he did a lot of trauma. And I don't know. And I'm clearly jaded, and you don't know what you don't know. And I don't know much about parenting in the 50s and 60s, but that's just how I think of how a lot of people grow up.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think your parents grew up like that at all? Like with a motherly mom,
well,
stayed
I know
home
that I
maybe?
know that my grandfather was the worker and my grandmother was the stay at home, right? And she helped.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 5 kids, and then on the other side, I think it was a similar dynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I could argue that that's potentially possible, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, what we've learned just from you is it's such a much more healthy dynamic when these parents,
Yeah.
these co-parents as we're calling them, work together.
Jordan
But
made a salty face when
But
you said
you're
that.
right though. Like in those times, it seems like there really was only one parent there for the child. 80 to 90% of the time.
It seems that way, and it would be the mother. But of course, that's not the case at all. Some of us grew up and their mothers were very harsh or
Hmm.
stoic, and they didn't get that feminine touch or that comfort from their own mother, and then they didn't get it from their dad, or some did it. And so now let's put in a time machine and go to 2024. Let me tell you, when I think of parenting in 2024, this is the most common struggle. This is one of the most common struggles I see now. You ready for this? This
Hmm.
should this is kind of funny, and it's kind of sad. I'll let you decide if it's funny or sad. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got this, and this is not every house. This is definitely a lot of American homes
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
general rule. Okay.
This is super common in Canada, in America. So you got this mom who is watching positive parenting videos on TikTok and Instagram. And they're
Okay.
watching my videos. And she's like, wow, like positive parenting, gentle parenting. This is great. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to traumatize my kid. And she's sending these videos to her co-parent, her spouse, and let's just call this person a man in this situation. Okay?
Okay.
And then she's saying this is what we want to parent our kid. And the man in the beginning is like, okay, this is a little different than how I was raised, but I'm open-minded. Let me do that. And then they actually try to do it. It's like really freaking hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is the man then tries to get aggressive. This is not every home. This is just in a lot of homes. Tries to get aggressive, tries to get authoritarian, tries to say, we got to parent these kids. You're too soft on them. These kids
Mm-hmm.
need discipline. They need
Mm-hmm.
structure. And
Mm-hmm.
then the woman becomes like the good cop. Like, no, that's not what we do. It's not, you don't. And then in some homes, then what happens is the women in this totally made up fictional tale then says, stop parenting in this way. Stop. So then the man says, oh, I don't know what to do then. I don't know how to parent. I don't want to
Right.
raise this gentle parenting. These kids
Right.
need discipline.
Right.
Like,
And they're
and
like, it's
then
not working. What
and
you're
then
doing is not working.
yeah, but then,
Yeah.
you're not, it's not working. Your kids are out of
Correct.
control. Our kids are whiny.
Right.
And then she says, well, what you're doing is not working. Our kids are afraid of you. And they're coming to me and telling me how much they don't like you. And then the deterioration of the relationship just starts going down. They argue about parenting and just everybody feels unheard and powerless. What do you think about that family dark drama?
I mean, I think you're painting the picture for a lot of people. I mean,
Okay.
I
Okay.
could say in my circle, I've encountered that exact story multiple times. And
Super
you
common,
look at the
huh?
kids and you look at the kids and you're like, huh, it's really not working. Or
Yeah.
are what the parents doing, are they doing it wrong? And now the kids are walking all over them. And
Oh
then the
my
male figure
gosh.
feels helpless because the mother, in this
Yeah.
story is saying no,
Yes.
no, no, and the father is like,
Yes.
well, I need to do this because this is not working. Look at our kids are walking all over
Yes.
you. They're walking all over me.
Yes.
So it's almost like if I
So
was looking at
common.
this, from like a, let's say, just like a business perspective or like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
cross analysis scientific method. Okay, we're going to try this method. Nope, not working. Now we need to go the other way.
I
Let's
know.
give it 2 years and let's just full on punish them, put them in timeouts, and just put them in the chokey, right? And let's see if that works. And then you got 4 years to determine which one worked
Right.
better.
Right. So hey, whatever. I hope that if you don't relate to this, just know that a lot of people do relate to that scenario. And whatever your scenario where Jordan and I are going to give you 7 action steps on how you can be a great partner. You can be a great co-parent. And if you've got a challenging partner, if you've got a challenging co-parent, then think of this as like this is a leadership lesson. I'm here and you are a leader and you're going to lead your family in health and wisdom. And you're just a great parent. You're just here getting empowered and encouraged by 2 people who really, really care about you. So Jordan, can I give them this list?
Please, let's start
All
off.
right,
What you got first?
we're gonna spend more time on some than others because some we've addressed on parts of this podcast and other episodes, and some just I think are more requiring. The first thing I think of when you think about marriage and parenting, co-parenting, is guys. Here's what you have to start with: you have to prioritize the marriage. You have to prioritize your co-parent, their honor, their relationship, your quality time, your love language. You cannot put the children first. You've
That's
got to
good.
start with the co-parent first. Do you agree?
I do. I think it can be hard when you have a fundamental disbelief on certain staples of your life
Mm-hmm.
to prioritize that marriage
Very
because
wise.
you're trying to prioritize the marriage, but you can't
Very wise.
understand the other side. You can't agree with this. So you got to figure that out.
So well said, man. Because yeah, that's part of the problem with this dynamic is we'll just it could be it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female. If you live with like an aggressive authoritarian type co-parent or partner, then what you're going to instinctively do is you're going to try to step in to be the peacemaker, to protect the children, from this thing that you're afraid of, which is their aggression. Is that right? But then what
Correct.
that can be a good thing, but it can also be a very toxic thing or dangerous thing because it's like it feels like you're just like putting the children first, and you're then demoralizing or shutting out the authority of the other parent. And it's just
Right.
so complex, isn't it? It's just so
And
complex.
it's hard to just, let's say you're the protector in the situation. It's hard to distinguish what's more important in some of those situations when you're in the moment. What's
Hmm.
more important, to back my spouse in this situation, or to protect the child in this situation, or baby the child, or whatever you want to label it as. But it can be hard in the moment.
If we're going to build 7 great tips here on how to be a great parent or partner, number one is just about prioritizing the love and the romance. This means, you know, do not forget those date nights, which means
Yeah.
turn the Netflix off and turn towards each other. Put the phone down, check in with each other's day. You might have to invest in a babysitter or some type of getting some family help so you have some time for each other, because you don't have time for each other. If you don't have that love for each other, then all the chaos of parenthood is going to start causing problems, and it's going to start ripping away at the seams of that once
Mhm.
connected relationship that you have. This is golden advice from 2 people who care about you.
I always find it so weird when people have been together for so long and then they get divorced 20 years,
Mm,
30 years after they get married. I'm like, why did that happen?
yeah.
And I'd anticipate because they didn't prioritize the marriage. They didn't go on dates. You get caught up in the rat race, and then 18 years goes by and the kids leave and you're like,
Right.
who are you?
Yeah. Now we're on point one. Now I'm going to tell you what point 3 is. I'm going to skip 2. Point 3 is going to say something about teamwork, obviously, right? Obviously, we're going to have teamwork in a freaking podcast about parenting.
Yeah.
But before I go to point 3, I just want to make a point of points what point 1 and 2 is. Because point 1 is prioritizing the marriage. Point 2 is prioritizing your own mental health. And if you think about this, if you just take a deep breath, it all makes sense. If you're really not taking care of your mental health, if you're abusing alcohol, if you're struggling with your own temper, your rage, if you are struggling with avoidance or screens, if you're really struggling with dark, intrusive thoughts, it's going to be hard for you to be a good partner. It's going to be hard for
Right.
you to be a good teammate,
A
right?
good parent.
A good parent.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it kind of make sense if we're going to have an episode about partnership and teamwork? It starts with the individual inner work we each have to do.
Got to take care of number one, yourself. And I know that might sound selfish, but if you don't, you could lose yourself and ultimately lose the family.
You don't want to be one of those parents that just loses themselves in their spouse or in their kids. And if you're listening to this, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about you, the person listening to this right now, the person that hasn't been to yoga, who hasn't played golf, who hasn't gone on a hike, who is just exhausted. You,
Pickleball, bro.
I
It's
played
huge right now.
pickleball.
So
Pickleball.
fun.
It's fun. I played that with my nephew. It was fun. Fun. You know,
Whatever hobby it is,
because you know
do it.
what? Yeah. I mean, if we're going to be great at loving people, if we're going to be great servant leaders, what do we need to do to get our minds and to get our bodies ready to serve with true love? Like when you go on a big trip, whether it be a work trip or when you do something really hard, do you ever like, do anything in your mind to just prepare for that big trip? Like any exercises or things in your mind, Jordan, before you do something like that?
I would say I do more of that if I know I'm leaving during rush hour and I
Oh,
have to sit in
oh,
bumper to bumper traffic because
good
I will get really
analogy.
mad.
What do you
Yeah.
do? Like, what do you do?
I change my expectations on like arrival time. It's like, oh, it's gonna take me
Oh,
6 hours
that's
to get there.
good.
I'm gonna get there in
That's
6 hours. It's
good.
like, oh no, the reality is gonna take me 6 hours to get out of Atlanta.
That's
so
good. Yeah.
so I just change, the general plan in my head of when we leave, when
Yeah.
we're gonna make a pit stop, and when we're gonna get there. I'm just like, you know
Huh.
what? No, we're gonna go with the flow, and it helps.
2 things I do. I I'm my VIP members get to meet with me 3 times a week, and one of those times is on Tuesday evenings. And so Tuesdays is my hardest day because this is the day we record the podcast on, and then I have one-on-one clients, I have interviews, I have and then I have this thing at nighttime, right? Where I have to show up for
Right.
my A game to be there
Hmm.
with my VIP members. So I'll block out time in my day and I'll take a nap. So I usually nap on Tuesdays. It's just about
That's awesome.
taking time to like you've got to be there, so you got to take care for yourself so you can be there for
Right.
others. Makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Like at work, I'll be sitting in the studio for hours and I'll get so tired and start to get angry. And I'll just be like, time to go outside. Something as little as like going outside. Like this morning, I was walking in and this bird was chirping. And I just noticed, like,
Hmm.
huh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
freezing my booty off out here. And that bird's just out here chirping away. Just like, hey, good morning, everybody. I'm like, it's the little things, man.
The
I like
little
that. It's good.
things.
Yeah.
Hey, in a minute, I'm going to ask you a sensitive question. I'm going to ask you, do you like funerals? And
Oh, that is a
I'm
sensitive
just gonna be
question.
honest with you right now.
Okay.
And this might sound bad. I just need to be honest with you. I just don't. I don't really like going to funerals.
Yeah. You're not alone, bro.
I
It's
don't. I
not
don't know
like
if
a
that sounds
happy
bad or
place.
not, but I do believe in the afterlife, and I do believe in heaven, and so I do believe there's a lot of joy in funerals, whether it be an older person who had a slow life, or just I don't know,
Now, if it was
man.
called a celebration of life, is that better for
Nah,
you? Or
it's
you
just still like
no.
somebody I know or somebody I cared about is gone, and it's just sometimes I'm in a funeral, and this might sound bad. This might sound really bad. I went to a funeral recently from somebody, a mentor of mine who died, and honestly, I was sitting there halfway through it. I was like, I just want to go home. I didn't want to be
You are
there.
not coming. You are not invited to my funeral, bro. Uh,
I'm just so sad,
if
man.
I get to a
Also,
crossroad
people are talking
and
about how
I
much
see a
they,
bright light when
yeah,
I pass, and God's like, "Do you want to come?" I'll be like, "Hold on, I have unfinished business. I'm gonna go haunt Sean for a moment,
haunt,
and then I'll cross
haunt.
over."
I know it sounds bad, man, and just don't judge me. I just was like, can this be over? It's just so sad.
Do you feel the same way during weddings?
I went to a wedding in Seattle a couple days ago. I love weddings. No,
Oh, you like weddings?
nah,
Okay, I just
weddings
didn't
are
know if you just didn't like like get-togethers.
no, man,
If it
no,
was,
I'm like
but
that. It was just
it's
like
the
the
sadness that you don't like, the
sadness, and I was
pain.
just, I
Yeah, the
think I'm just
memories.
really thinking about this last one because it was just so sad because this man I love, he's gone forever. So, what do you think? Do you like
I
funerals?
think you're trying to mute the pain, bro, and you're
Yeah.
trying to move on without really allowing it to grasp and
Hmm.
take its moment in you.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just so intense in
You're
me. Maybe
you're
I'm
just like, you
letting
know
it.
what? I can't think about this because it's too emotional. So I'm just gonna build a wall and
I
move
just
past it.
want to move on, but I can't. What about you? I don't want to talk about this anymore. Do you like funerals? Do you?
I've only been to a couple. I
Yeah.
went to one of my buddies in high school passed, and I went to his.
You're
That
talking
was
about
hard because
Utah?
my first one. Yep.
I knew Utah.
Talking
Yeah.
about Utah. That was my first one, and that was hard because I had never encountered anybody passing before.
Did he take
And
his
then I
life,
went.
or how did Utah die again?
Oh no, it was a drinking and driving accident.
Oh my
Partying,
gosh.
kids
Oh my
wrapped a car around a tree.
gosh. Okay. Okay.
It was, and he was such a good kid, man.
He
He
was.
hung out with us at Campus Life. He lived with me for a short
Oh
period,
my
while him and his
gosh.
mom were going through tough times, and he just got involved with not the right kids after he stopped playing football and just
Hmm.
didn't have a direction. Anyway, we don't have to talk about him. But what I'm saying is, I haven't been to too many.
Yeah.
I went to my grandfather's, and I had the best time in the world.
Yeah.
I was like, I came back, and everyone's like, "How's the funeral?" I was like, "Dude, it was so fun," and they
Yeah.
were like looking at me like I was crazy, and that's because it was like a huge family reunion to some
Yes.
family I had not seen in a
Yes, I
long
have been one
time.
of those. It was great.
And
Yeah.
I
It's a
enjoyed that.
celebration
And
of
it was
life.
sad, but he was at the age where,
Yeah.
people start passing and you could look at all the cool things he did. And
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, wow, this is cool. It's a storyline of
Yes.
beginning, middle, and end and what came with it and the kids that came with it. You look around, you're like, I'm a descendant of this. This is
Oh,
crazy.
it's so good. All right. If you want to be a great partner, a great leader, a great co-parent, you've you've got to have a funeral. You've got to have a funeral. And if you really want to have a great, amazing marriage and like partnership experience, then two funerals need to happen. When something needs to die, you need to put it to death. And what that is your own selfishness, your own ego, your own immaturity, your own, it has to be my way. Because, when you have a child with somebody or adopt a child with something, you're not only bringing this child into, the world, into your home, but you're also giving up power. You're giving up power that is not going to be all your way. You're a team, you're a partner. And it's I funerals are hard and giving up power is hard. But for you to thrive in this, you've got to have a funeral and give and let that my control over this situation is now dead.
And when you have that funeral, I remember having that funeral. It's like a weight lifted. It's
Mm,
crazy.
that is
When you
beautiful.
have so much control
So,
on you and you're thinking you want to manage everything, and then when you can't, the anger that comes inside you, right? Think about
dude,
that.
this
Like
is
we all try
so
to control certain
encouraging.
things, and when we can't control them, we get mad.
Yeah.
But the moment you realize you can't control them and you allow that relief,
My
and
gosh.
you know that you've got a partner that can help, tell you what, man, it's like
Gosh, so good.
you're 10
Jordan,
pounds
you're an
lighter.
incredible man, an incredible podcaster. That was so good. I was all getting
Well, I was
all
just thinking
negative
how
and
I
down, and then
felt.
you just like turned it all around, bro. Dude, that is so
It's how I
true.
felt.
So let's build on what you said, and let me play as angel's advocate for a second. This is so true. You don't have to do this by yourself. You're not alone. You're not alone. Like Jordan says, you don't have to have it all figured out. You have a helper. That's such good news.
Yeah. And be real, like, why do you want to have all that control anyway? I mean, I know you like things your way and you want to put all the
Yeah.
ducks in a row, but the reality is having kids and a family is kind of fun to see it go into chaos for a little bit and then you reorganize with the help of
Okay, let's
others.
give somebody some counseling right now. I'm going to go first. Jordan, this person needs counseling. This person's like, Jordan, this doesn't relate to me. I don't feel like I have a partner. I don't feel joy. I feel fear. I feel like I have to protect my child from my co-parent.
Right.
I
And I
I
get that.
can't
I
let
get
go.
that.
I have to
Right.
I have to parent another person. So
Right.
here's what we're gonna give you a little side counseling, okay? First thing I want you to think of is this: is that this person you're talking about, I hope you're not demonizing them just because they're different than you, just because their parenting style is different, just because they don't follow my videos or gentle parenting or positive parenting, just because they're not reading your parenting books, just because you don't agree with their parenting, it doesn't mean they're a bad parent. It doesn't mean they're screwing up your kid. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean the world is over. You and I have came from imperfect parents who had imperfect parenting styles, and we learned, we grew, we healed, we did our work. So
Right.
that is something we need to really highlight on this episode. As we highlight good parenting, we also need to be cautious to not demonize anyone in this.
And I don't know what point, you have basically like working together and being on the same page, but the reality is like the reason you feel this way is cuz you're not on the same page
Right.
and
Yeah.
well, let's say you're worried
Right.
that your spouse is going to harm your child, or
Yeah.
let's just say, I mean, shoot, think about the chaos that came with COVID
Hmm.
and people that were co-parenting, not married.
Yeah.
One wants their kid to get the vaccine and
Oh
one
my
doesn't.
gosh.
It caused such
It did.
trauma.
It really did.
But the reality is you have to figure out how to get on the same
Yeah.
page. And I don't know the answer
Right.
to that quandary, but you got to get on the
Hmm.
same page.
Yeah.
Give and take.
Yeah. It's about teamwork. It's about sometimes you lead and sometimes you submit. And sometimes you speak up and it's your way and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes here's like something that my Danielle and I do. We'll say, Danielle, for me, this is like a 9 out of a 10. This is a 9 out of 10. And then
So
she
your
might say,
number
well,
rating
Sean, for
score.
me, this is a 10 out of a 10. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
geez. Okay. All right. Well, maybe let's keep talking about this. Let's pray about it. Maybe we can
Right.
talk to some friends about it. Or sometimes if she says to me, Sean, this is like a 9 out of 10 to me, I know that she has more nines than I do.
Right. That's what I was going to say. What if
She
someone's like, well,
does.
it's a 10 out of 10.
Everybody,
Well, it's a 10 out of 10.
everybody
Well,
has,
it's a 10
right?
out of 10.
Nobody is gonna have the same feelings as you do. So it's like, how
Right.
do I submit to her leadership without feeling walked over, without feeling like I'm people pleasing? How do I submit without having a resentful heart?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep score. You got to just write them all down, add them up at the end of the year, and say,
That's
you
a
had more
joke.
nines than
I couldn't
me.
tell.
And this year,
Yeah.
I get more
Well, hey,
nines.
love keeps no records of wrong. So, right, that's funny though,
uh,
right? This is why these two funerals need to happen, because if you're in a relationship with somebody and there's only one funeral is happening, then you're not. It's like, how can you have a team with somebody who doesn't want to team up with you? But before we
yeah.
demonize this person, just look at them and
Give and
realize
take.
I made a baby with this person for a reason. There's good things in this person. And
Mm-hmm.
here's another take on this same thing. All right, I heard somebody say this recently. Okay, this person said co-parenting's a myth because if you're with somebody and you have a baby with them, you're married,
Mm-hmm.
and you get divorced because you can't get along with them anymore. So now
Okay.
you are trying. So somebody you don't have a history of teamwork with. Now you're trying to have teamwork with them while they live in a different house. They sleep with somebody
Right.
else. So if you couldn't do
Sure.
teamwork here, it's going to be really hard. So
Together, how
just
are you?
let it go. Just accept that there is no co-parenting. You're going to parent the child at this house one way, and I will parent the child this house at a different
And
way.
that happens a
It sure
lot.
does.
That happens a
And here's
lot.
some good
It
news.
does.
That can be confusing for the child, but the child can get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is sometimes the best way to parent the child. Just help the child with the confusion. I know, honey, it's really hard. We have different rules here than at your other parents'
That's really
house.
wise. That's good because there are some co-parenting couples that just will not work together because of that history. So the fact that you said that maybe gives us some of us hope that like, okay, well, we're not going to damage our kids too
Mm.
much with my style versus his style or her style versus my style.
Let's sit on this. We're going to sit on point 3 and 4 the longest. So let's sit on point 3 a little longer, okay? 2 funerals need to happen and teamwork and everything. I asked my wife, Danielle, hey, honey, I'm doing a podcast about, partnership and co-parenting. What comes to mind for you? The first thing that came to mind was she didn't like the word co-parent. Just like
Me neither, man. That's what I'm
she was like,
saying.
"What is
That's
that?
okay.
Even?
Keep going.
What is that?"
Yeah,
The second thing
yeah,
she came to mind is she's like, "Well, teamwork." Okay, okay. Like, what do you
yeah.
mean by teamwork? And this is kind of funny. I think it's funny because I just know my wife so well. She said, "Well, cleaning."
Oh
Okay,
my
I'm glad you thought it was
gosh,
funny too.
that is
Why are you laughing?
hilarious.
I want to know.
Because I know
What?
the house is always spotless. You guys,
Our
it's
house is
like,
so
how do you
clean.
cook? How do you cook? You have to like clean as you're cooking
Yeah, man,
because
clean up
the dirty
immediately.
kitchen.
Like,
Oh
no,
my
my wife
gosh,
is
that is so
very
funny.
into.
Yeah, you got some tomato sauce on the backsplash. Can you wipe that up right now?
Well, it's a group effort. It's about me being
I know it is. I
loving and
know.
I meeting her standards of cleanliness. It's about her not
Yeah,
communicating well in a non-naggy way.
that's just so funny. That was what the category she
That's
brought
the
up.
first thing she said is cleaning.
Cleaning. That is
Well, yeah, but it's
hilarious.
a challenge because like I don't have the same standards and I don't have the same eye.
Oh yeah.
And if you
Shoot,
want to see
I
our
know.
house, you can just go on, her Instagram, Danielle.Donohue, and you can see our house and
Do you have rules like, okay, Sean's the trash guy. I'll
tons
do
of
the
them.
laundry. Sean
Tons.
is the okay. So you have your categories
Tons.
within cleaning that you know is your route, your road.
Yeah, but
All right.
like something that's come up recently is like a few times like right now I normally put our 7-year-old to bed almost every night,
Yeah.
which is hard and I prefer to not do it, but I do it with a grateful heart
Yep.
because she really did it for the other 2 kids. So then what really pushes her buttons is if I put the child down and then I just kind of go and do my own thing, like start reading a book or
Sure.
watching a show.
Yeah.
And then she feels unseen and unloved because the house still needs cleaning. But I don't really
Can
want
I
to clean.
okay. I don't want to
But
get
I
into
don't
this
want to
therapy
clean
session,
because
but what was she doing the whole time you were putting
she's
the kid to bed?
cleaning or working or doing other good things. Right?
Okay, got it.
She's
All
doing
right.
good things.
Yep,
But I
understand.
don't want to
Yep.
clean because now I'm exhausted from putting the kid down. So then what I've found is that there's been times when I don't check in with her and don't do any cleaning. And for me, it's the Gottmans have a thing. It's you've heard of the love languages. They have a better
Yes.
thing. It's called a love map. And I know that one of my things on my wife's love maps is cleaning. And she
Hmm.
even told me last night. She said to me, Sean, I really don't want you to ask me, what you can clean. Just start cleaning. And then
Yeah.
and I realized, okay, you're right. I didn't need to like
Get
I could have just
approval.
done it.
Right. Yep.
And it's hard for me though. So I'm trying to not be psychic or be a mind reader, but this is like an example. So of how like an example of teamwork in our parenting. How about you? When you think of
Yeah.
teamwork,
That's good.
what is first thing comes to you? And then
Cleaning.
if you ask your wife, Danny, What would she say? What do you think she would say? What comes up?
I mean, I think it's just sharing, the parenting um, equally. Here's a big one. How
Okay.
about this one? Let me throw
Okay.
this
Okay.
out there.
We're having a good time.
Poopy
Oh
diapers.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How about
That's a
that?
good
All
one.
right. Is it in your household, not you, Sean, but in general, people listening, is it the wife
Hmm.
only cleans the poopy diapers? The man
In
doesn't at all,
1950,
doesn't
we
touch
already know
them,
the answer to that. Right.
right? Do you
Right.
share the poopy
Right.
diaper, the
Right.
quest? Because some of it can be quite
Yeah. Right.
an adventure.
Right.
So it's just things like that. It's like seeing what the other person has done and knowing where you need to step up
Mm.
to the plate, right? Seeing how maybe the other person didn't do anything all
Yeah.
day, but maybe they're not feeling well. I'm gonna step up to the
Right.
plate, right? So you
Yeah.
see where you need to
Yeah.
fit, and then maybe you did as much as you wanted to do,
Yeah.
and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna rest. I'll do the rest
Right.
tomorrow. Then the other person would see that. You know what I mean? It's just seeing the other
Here's something we've
parent.
never talked about together on this podcast or even in real life. Let me say something and let me get your take on it. It's like a little riddle. It's like a little bomb. One of the good things of 2024 is that we the gender roles are becoming much more loving and more balanced when it comes to parenting. For example, poopy diapers. One of the bad
Yeah.
things of 2024, one of the stresses of 2024 is that we're like very confused by the gender roles now. You see where I'm going with this? Should I explain?
Yeah, explain.
So, like, I just try to
You mean like
imagine.
we are like who is
Well,
confused? Society is
like, I
confused?
know as a young dad, I was freaking confused. Like, okay, like, aren't you the stay-at-home mom? Aren't you doing the diapers? Like, that's definitely something a young dumb Sean would say. Like,
Right.
honey, like
But
I
you're
just got
also
home
half
from
the parent.
work and like I got to do all this stuff and like, can you do the diapers? Like, that's definitely something stupid I've said before when I was young and dumb.
Yeah, but that's a mindset of the 1950s. You're like, "Oh, I worked all day. I come home, I shouldn't have to do anything."
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's cool that we have like essentially every family gets to now redefine whatever gender roles they want. If the dad wants to
Oh,
stay
I
home,
see
be a
what you're
stay-at-home
saying.
dad, cool.
Got it.
No
Yep,
judgments
yep,
here.
yep, yep, yep.
I got some
Right,
friends who are
right, right,
stay-at-home
right.
dads. High respect.
Right.
But it's kind of like it seems like it'd kind of be easier if you're in like 1950s. It's like everybody knows this is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And everybody knows
Yeah.
this is what you're supposed to do. I don't need to talk about it all the time. Just do it. Right?
I don't know if there'd be as many smiles. Maybe there was. I don't know. We need to get back in that time machine. I want to go see how many
Does
people
your
are
wife?
smiling.
My wife says this to me sometimes, and I kind of like it and I kind of don't. She says something like, well, you just expect me to do that?
No, I've never.
She
heard
doesn't say
those
that?
words.
Or just
No.
she says that to me sometimes, and I'm like, oh, that's a good point because I think I do I am kind of like expecting her to do that. But she works full time now too. And so like all those,
Right.
expectations can be tough.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever. I mean, there are certain expectations if there is a one person working, right? It's just like you're both really working. Let's be honest. Like the person at home is freaking
Hardest job
working.
in the world.
It's
Yeah.
not like you're just watching soap operas all day.
All my children.
But oh my gosh! But there are
Days of our
some.
lives.
I guess I can.
Sorry.
These are the days of our lives. I think for us there's always just been, communication as to like, I do this, you do this, I do this, you do this. Oh, you want to do this? Cool. Now I'll do this.
That's
And we just
good.
hop
You
around.
guys good?
You're a
You guys good with
chameleon.
you're good with that? You guys do good?
I mean, it was probably hard in the beginning. Maybe I blacked it out. Maybe I just built a wall and moved on. I don't know. But right now everything's working great.
Now you got 3 kids. That's one of the joys of getting older. You teamwork. You don't have to argue about this stuff. You figured it out. So if you're young and you got young kids, just have hope. Have hope. If there's love, if there's an open heart, if there's a willingness with you and your co-parent, just know you're going to get through it. It just takes a little time, you know?
I mean, some stuff I try to do. I ask, I would like to do this. And then she'll say, no, you don't do it right.
Oh,
So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I know that's not my avenue. I shouldn't go that direction.
this might sound a little bad, but I kind of like it when Danielle says that to me because that means like
Because then you don't have to do it.
and
Of
everyone's happy. You
course.
get it done the way you want, and I don't have to do it. Right. So here's
Right.
a couple more thoughts about teamwork because we're on point 3 right here, but this is definitely one of the most important. Here's a tool for your mind. Instead of, oh my gosh, myself is driving me nuts. Instead of, oh my gosh, you just don't listen to me. Instead of, oh my gosh, my spouse is so freaking selfish. Or, oh my gosh, my spouse is so rooted in these gender roles. Instead of, oh my gosh, it's me versus them. This is how I feel like I'm in a war. Think this. It's not you versus me. It's us versus the problem. It's two
Right.
very different people with different backgrounds, different family upbringings, different personalities, different pros, different cons, different skill sets, different schedules, different energy levels, different everything. How do you team up with that person who is very different than you and is always going to be very different? And if you try to get them to change, you try to get them to be just like you because you're so cool, well, then that's not going to work. Instead, just change your mind. Find this joy and this acceptance in this person, saying I need to accept them for who they are, accepting they're growing at a different rate than me, they're on a different journey with me, they are my teammate, and it's not me versus them, it's us versus this problem called parenting.
And if you need to have that conversation, just do it together. Maybe go out on that date and talk about it. There'll
Yeah.
be times when we disagree on stuff, and then we'll bring it up later, like right before bed. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this is I know you wanted me to do this, but I really feel
Yeah.
this way, and I was exhausted. And then you kind of get to know each other's ticks and how you can step up to the plate to
Yeah, if
help.
you got to, yeah, that's good. That's good. If I were to ask Danny right now, when when you think of being a team with Jordan, what's like one of the most annoying things or challenging things? What would she say? Just throw yourself under the bus. Just be honest. What would she say?
Um.
I'm.
It used to be. I would say 5 years ago, it used to be me wanting to spend so much time like
Mm-hmm.
in the woods or fishing
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
going to visit family or on a
Yeah.
trip.
Yep.
I had to change my expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
also, look at like the true joys in life and what my purpose was for wanting to do that. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just to like get away from the family, it was to spend time with some of my other family that I don't
Yeah.
get to see anymore. And when she had that realization, she was like, "Oh yeah, I want you to do that,
That's good.
but don't be gone
Yeah.
forever,
That's really good. Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
stuff like that, I've realized that she's a night owl and I'm an early bird, so I don't get to sleep in pretty much ever. I'm up early
Yeah.
with the kids, but I don't mind that because I
Yeah.
wake up early.
That's good.
It's just harder when you're not with
Yeah.
that person. So this co-parenting podcast, I mean, for a lot of people, they might not be
Mm-hmm.
with their baby's mama or their
Yeah.
baby's daddy
Right.
or whatever.
You know what? When you think of the movie genre, good cop, bad cop movie genre, is any movies come to mind for you? Because you say movie buff. Good cop, bad cop movie genre. What is the movie that comes to mind? Where you got two cops, one's mean, and one's like lovey dovey or nice. You got any movies? Okay,
No,
how
I
about
can't
three
think of any
movies?
right
Good
now. What
cop,
you got?
bad cop. Here's three of my favorites. Okay. Um, Training Day. Denzel
Ooh, that's a
Washington,
great movie.
bad
Great
cop.
example. Great
Ethan
movie.
Hawke.
Great movie.
Okay. How about
Great
that
movie.
TV show with Andy Samberg? Have you ever watched that one?
No,
Oh, it's very popular. What's it called? I don't remember. Okay, how about
I
this
don't
one?
know.
Very underrated Will Ferrell movie. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg, The Other Guys. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, that with Mark.
The
Yeah, I do
Rock
remember
is
that.
in
I
that
only saw that
movie.
one once.
And in the opening scene, The Rock dies because they're like the dream team, cop team. So then they can't get the A team, The Rock's team, because he's dead.
That's
With
right.
like Samuel L. Jackson, the alpha male cops. So they have to go to the backup detectives who are Will
Yeah,
Ferrell, who is like this goofy, and
and
Mark
Mark Wahlberg who
Wahlberg, and they
hate each
hate each
other.
other.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg is like the bad cop. Will Ferrell's like the good cop. That's a really funny movie.
Your second movie or show is Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Really
that you were
funny
talking
comedy. I've
about.
only seen it a few times. Very highly reviewed. But this is what you don't want.
But what about this good cop, bad cop thing?
You
This is what we
do
don't
not
want in
want
parenting.
the dynamic where there's a good cop, there's a bad cop, and where there's the soft parent and there's the disciplinarian. If you're going down that path, put the brakes on, stop. Because Jordan, can you see? I mean, we could do a whole episode on the bad things that come out of the good cop, bad cop dynamic.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some good that would come out of it. And I'm just trying to think of like you know, don't let me tell your
Mm-hmm.
father. Once your father
Mm-hmm.
gets home, you're going to really
Mm-hmm.
wish you didn't blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And you instill that fear in that kid. And maybe that
no.
did work at some times. But what
I
you're
think
saying
good.
is you don't want that. You want it to be more even keeled from
We
both
could do a whole
parties.
opposite podcast episode on that, but it would be a Debbie Downer episode. The bad things that come out of the
Yeah.
good cop, bad cop dynamic. Like, who would want to listen to that? That's a dark family drama,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
All right,
I
let's
agree.
go to tip number 4. All right. Tip number 4. Now, here we are prioritizing the marriage. You're prioritizing your mental health. 2 funerals have happened. And now you're a team. So now that you're a team, what kind of teammate are you going to be? Action step number 4. The best teammates and the best teams are always flexible. Flexibility, chill vibes, go
Yeah.
with the flow. When you think about that, what comes to mind for you?
For me, it's like I think of flexibility obviously as the partnership, but like people who are not together of being flexible. Let's say you had an
Okay.
ugly divorce and you are in charge of having the children every
Okay.
other
Very
weekend.
common. Very
But on the
common.
weekend that very common. When it's your weekend to have the kids, the other spouse or
Yep.
not spouse in the situation, the ex has an opportunity to take the kids to Disney World because they just won free
Ooh.
tickets on the radio and it's for the whole
Ooh.
family.
Nice.
You could be
You sure
bitter
could.
and like, no, I don't
You
want my
sure
kids
could.
going with them.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to
Yeah.
have that experience with the new missus in the
Right.
situation or the new man
Right.
over there trying to raise my
Yeah.
kids. And I get it. But what my dad taught us in the podcast not too long ago, he just said you had to take a step away and not think anymore
Hmm.
about yourself and what you want. And it's got to be truly what the
Oh,
kids want.
yes.
And hopefully down the road, the kids would
Mm.
see that and they'll have a better relationship with you because of it. Because if you
Yeah.
keep them from everything because you're worried, then you're not going to have a good relationship with
Yeah,
them
you can
when they
go
get
back
older.
and see that was only about maybe 10 or 12 episodes ago, everybody. We did a podcast episode where we brought Jordan's dad on. And gosh, it was filled with so much wisdom about how he navigated the waters of co parenting after a divorce. And it just seemed like both your parents, had this certain sense of flexibility of like, let's be good to each other. And so we can really put the kids first through this. And it really showed up.
Right.
Here's a little something. Okay. It, I want you to think for a second. You're like the perfect co-host, by the way, because I just constantly put you on the spot, and you just like are so quick on your mind. You always come up with something. So everyone listen to this, and everybody think for a second. Who in your life would you say be one of your favorite partners you've had in life? Everyone think partners. Now it could be like a friend, like you just you guys plan camping trips together, or you just go camping together. It could be a coworker. It could be a friend where like just you already know that if you go to a pool party and you're supposed to bring this and you're supposed to bring this, like you just love working with this person. It could have been somebody from
Right.
your past. I'm going to tell you about two of my favorite friends, Josh and David. Okay, so if you have a visual, they're about my age. Josh has no hair and David has black hair. Okay, Josh, both in tech. They're both very smart, amazing men. They're both family men, very hardworking. I love and I admire them both. They both have things that drive me nuts in their personalities, and they know that because I love these men. They're
Mm-hmm.
very close in their things. And so here's what I think about Josh. I love, I just, if I think of someone I would want to be a partner with, like if I was stranded on a desert island,
PIC, partner
partner
in
in crime,
crime. Yeah.
he's definitely one of the first people I would think of. Not because he's like an avid
Okay.
outdoorsman, because he's not. He's just so relatable. He's very hospitable. He's so generous. He's very trustworthy. And you just know that if you go to Josh's house, you're gonna have a good time. He's just he's just easy for me to be around. And if he's just so
That's great.
trustworthy, he's a great partner. And then
Yeah, like a best
like a
friend.
best friend. Yes. And then you got David, who's got black hair. I think about David, some of the things that scream off the page for me is this man has just a lot of wisdom. He's a great listener. Like if I'm hurting or going through a hard time, if I want some good advice, I'm just going to call him up because he's just like really easy to
Yeah.
talk to. and he's a huge outdoorsman. So we can just go outside and do something together, and we're just going to nerd out, and we're both going to love that. Partners. How about you? When you think of a great partner, who?
Yeah, like good friends. Like you could probably look at your phone and look in your favorites and find that person, right? It's like these are the people that we love to be around. We love to share
Yeah,
life with,
yeah.
and they're easy. It's
It's
easy.
easy.
It's easy, right?
It's
It's easy. That's
easy.
going to be the biggest thing.
So,
So for me, a good partner would be one of my uncles that I do all my outdoor, life with, hunting and some
mm.
fishing and all that. Because there's a lot of stuff that drives me nuts, but I get it,
Oh,
And
you
once you
get
get
it.
that person, you know how to
You
act
get it.
around them, right?
It's good. You
And
get it.
another person who I love to be around is like my brother. Like the same story. It's like we would do everything together before kids. I mean, we were
Mm.
together all the time, and now it gets more complicated because our time
Yeah,
is more minimal.
you
But
get
it
it.
was so fun always doing stuff together. And then, like my dad, I love being with my dad, but also I know that my dad can drive
Mm-hmm.
me nuts. And I know I could drive my
Mm-hmm.
dad nuts. And so I know my limits and I know what I should and shouldn't
Yes.
say. And I know how to act to keep it simple and easy. Because the reality is, like, people know, like, if you butt heads with someone, you know how you
So
got to keep
good.
it around them.
So good.
And
Let me
so
highlight.
to find these partners, you got
Let
to
me
know who
tell
they
you my
are.
favorite thing, what you said, because I think you just took this podcast, this action step to a whole nother level. What did you? I love what you said when you said, "I get it. I get it."
Oh, yeah, because there are those quirks that
Mm-hmm.
drive you crazy, and you're like, "Why
Mm-hmm.
why do they do that? Why do they
Yeah,
act like that?" And you're just like, "All
I
right,
get it.
I get it. I get
It's
you're
who you
this is who
are.
you are. This is what you're gonna do, so I have to come to
I'm not
terms
going to
with it."
badmouth Josh or David right now, but there's some things about them that I don't like. They annoy me, and I know that I have the same for
Oh,
them.
come on.
No,
Let their dirty
but
laundry out. What do they
well,
do?
Josh
Do
is
they
like
bite their
he's
arm
kind of like
hair
a
and
know-it-all
like
sometimes. I did it. You baited me, dude. He's just like he's talking about. He's so smart, and sometimes he's just always bragging about how nice saying I'm so smart. He's just like, yeah, and he'll just tell you things. They're like, okay, Josh, we get it. You know a lot. Shut the hell up. And then it's like so. And then David, he can be kind of airheaded
it's
sometimes.
like you have your own
Yeah, it is
Google
like
with you.
that.
It's
It's
like
like,
you got your
shut
own
up, Josh. We're
encyclopedia.
not Googling you, or we don't want to know. He's like, yeah, I would have predicted that. Or here's my prediction for this. And sometimes it's true. It's like,
Oh,
shut
yeah.
up, man. All right,
Yeah.
Notre Damus. It's more like Notre Dumbness. You're so dumb. Shut up. And then David, he can be just kind of airheaded sometimes. Like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that, or hey, I didn't think about that. And it's like these things drive me nuts. We're on a sports or backpacking trip, and we're like, oops, I forgot this. And I'm like, what the heck, man? You forgot
Oh,
this?
right.
And but the thing about
Yeah.
why I love them, and I hope they love me, because I'm going to tell them I made this podcast and I'm talking crap about them, is that what you said? You get it. Like it kind of, I understand that my wife's desire for tidiness and cleanliness, that's not changing. That's who she
Right.
is, for better or worse.
But maybe her acceptance of you of a slob needs
Maybe I'm
to
not a
open up a
slob.
little more.
Maybe I'm
Maybe you
not.
should
Maybe I
be
used to
to
be.
teach her a
But
lesson.
that's the thing. I can't become her and she can't become me. And so this
No, that's
what
so
you said
true,
was
man.
so brilliant. For you being a flexible co-parent, it means you've got to just get it. Just get it. You're working with imperfect people. You're imperfect. You've got your
Right.
stuff. They've got, stop being so judgmental and blamey. Stop begging them to change. Just be cool and work with them and accept. And that's really a greatest form. One of the greatest forms of loving somebody is just really accepting them for who they are.
And those people who are in happily ever after marriages, or they could be categorized as that, they do that. They adapt. They get it. But it's those that are like, oh, I'm not gonna. She wants me to change, or he wants me to do this. I'm not. If you're unwilling to, you know,
Mhm.
adapt to the other person, then you're never gonna be with anybody because it's just gonna. No one's gonna
So
want to
well
be
said,
around you.
dude. You cannot change this person, but you can't change yourself. You cannot change this person, but you can change your viewpoint of this person, right? You can change your person. You can
Right.
change if instead of you viewing them with resentment or criticism or like you're a victim to their imperfections or their selfishness, you can look at it that way, or you can just say, look, and I love them for who they are, and they're not trying to hurt me. This is who they are, and they're not out to get me. And so,
So for the co-parent,
yeah,
prioritize your marriage. You got to be on the same page. We got to prioritize our mental health. We got to have these 2 funerals, which don't invite Sean because they'll be bored anyway.
Sad. I said sad, not bored.
we gotta be the best teammates, and by doing that, we've got to be flexible.
And number
That's
5
good.
is where you're going to spend no time on this because you get it. If you really want to thrive in your family, you're going to have to slow down. That's it.
They say, stop and smell the roses.
Slow down. You got to slow your schedule down. You got to stop doing so much stuff. You got to stop working so much.
Grass is not greener on the other side.
You got to chill
green
out.
Right in front of you.
You got to slow your life down. If you're going at a fast pace, it's not going to end well.
You don't want to go into that grassy field anyway. You have allergies. Stay in your lane.
Don't change lanes. Slow down. Go in the slow lane. Watch all the people speeding and getting accidents on the left.
Right.
Slow down. I did a video. It's going like viral now. I'm very proud of it. I have a line in there. I love it. I'm so proud of this line. It says something like this. It just came up a few hours ago, and it's already got like lots of views. It says something like this. It just came out. It said like, you got to put some reggae music on in your head. Something like that.
Dude, I watched that whole video. I don't always watch all the videos that you post because I know a lot of the stuff that you're going to talk about, but I watched this entire thing. And that was such a good line. Video. I was like, man. And then I started playing reggae music in my head after you said that. And I was like, this makes me feel so calm.
You know what's
that was
great
such a good analogy,
reggae band from the 90s is 311. Do you remember that band?
Are they? Is that their category? Reggae? I mean, I know 311.
Is Amber is the color. Remember that song?
Yeah. Right. And they just came out with some new music that sounds completely different. They've kind of, it's pretty good. They changed their vibe. One of my old colleagues,
311. Yeah, if you're from Southern California, you were vibing with 311. Okay, so let's go into the last 2 points. This is so key. In fact, my wife Danielle even alluded to this. Okay. Now. Can you hear that?
Of course I can hear it. It's bringing up all these memories now.
All right, I'm going to leave it in the background. If it gets distracting, tell me.
Okay.
Here's what I found is that this is, for some of you, this is going to be the most important point in this episode. Is that a little loud? 311, is it nice?
No, we can barely hear it.
Loud here. Okay. Okay, so we've all been there. One parent is having an issue with the child, and there's tension. And then that child goes to the good cop parent. And that good cop parent then tries to either appease the child, comfort the child, or referees the situation. And then the other parent, that'd be me in this scenario, be like, what? Don't support that. Like, give me some backup here.
Right.
So what I have found to be great as a great parent, as a co-parent, is you've got to create a home culture of making amends, teaching your kids to make amends, and don't just move on if there's an issue between the child and your co-parent. In fact, create a home culture of peacemaking and working things out together. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, but give me an example.
Okay, let's say that this one child this is extremely common, really disrespectful to their father, like lashing out. And then the dad is like, please don't disrespect me like that. And then the child goes to the mom and gets comfort, gets gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
And then the child gets taken by the mom to its soccer practice, and it's never, ever addressed again.
I see.
Yeah, we've all been there. Have you been there?
Right. I'm there all the time. There are a lot of times when life gets in the way. I mean, you share an example of your daughter's soccer practice and you refused to take her until that situation was resolved. But I think a lot of us don't do that. I don't do that all the time. It's like, we'll figure this out.
If I were to say, don't undermine your co-parent everyone would have imagined these different stories. But see how this is actually a subtle way of undermining your co-parent. Not
Yes. Right. And there's a lot larger
mhm,
examples, but this one makes a lot of sense because we'll gloss
gloss
over
it
things all
over,
the time.
or we minimize, like, well, the only reason that the child was mean to you is because you were being mean to the child. It's like we just minimize and undermine our co-parents, and we're tempted to do that on a regular basis. So how do we then not do that? And we're not going to spend too much time on this, but that just could mean you pulling your co-parent to the side, or hey, can I talk to you in another room? Or hey, can I talk to you about this another time? Hey, I really didn't like the way you talked to, little Sophia. I My wife's texted me a week ago and she said, I really think you need to apologize to our child. And I was upset. And when I got the text, I was upset. But I took a breath and I was like, yep, she's probably right. I trust her. And I went and I apologized to the child. But it wasn't done in front of the child, Because I would not like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't be an example of what not to do. That would be like a kid centric home, right? And so, how do we not move on? How do we work in this confusing world of, like, you know, like leading a home where everyone makes amends and we work things out and we just don't pretend like everything's fine and we take our kid to lacrosse practice, which is a perfect transition into point number 7. It's a little wordy, but I hope you love this. Point number 7: emotion coach your kids in their confusing role in the family. Let me explain. Um, if you look at it from this perspective, being a kid is a little confusing. What, like, you love me, I'm the kid, so you're supposed to take care of me. You're supposed to take me to soccer. You're supposed to feed me. You're supposed to be there for me. You're supposed to love me. You're supposed to be my person. But yeah, that's true, kid. But here's a little confusing is that while I do love you and you are my kid, you're not my number one. What? But I'm your kid. I'm 6. I'm 16. No, my number one is actually my spouse. What are you talking about? I'm your number one. I'm your kid. Well, it's very confusing. So, using terminology, especially if you have a blended home or two parents, even if you have two biological parents living in the house, it's all so confusing. Even if you're a step parent or if you're a parent of an adopted kid, you're a foster kid, it's all so confusing, isn't it? And it just takes time for you to properly emotion coach your kid. Like, well, why can't we just go to soccer? Well, because you still have to address what happened between you and your dad. Well, I don't want to. Just take me to soccer. Well, no, in this family, how we care for each other is more important than soccer. Well, I don't want to talk to dad. I just want to go to soccer. Well, no, see, this is all very confusing because soccer is important. But, how we deal with this is even more important. It's just all so confusing, isn't it? If you just break it down. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm saying. Even in like the most confusing situation for a child, let's say 50-50 homes, divorced parents, one parents totally different than the other. That's pretty confusing, right? One parent passed away. Who's going to help the child thrive in this confusion and understand it? Well, that's what good parents do. That's what good. Oh, my finger. Let's like right putting you on the spot. What is one thing that's confusing about being one of your kids right now? Like, and you're helping them in this confusion. Deep feeling kids. What do you mean? Can you be more specific? Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Oh. Oh, that's good. So you're helping your kids process that confusion. It's so good. Yeah. A little hot. Wow. Yeah. It's so good. Man, that's good. That's so good. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. We do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We sure do. Yeah. Yeah. I think what's confusing about our home right now is, and I'm not trying to be funny by saying this, even though you might laugh, is it's just very confusing for everyone here to live with a 7-year-old right now. It's just tough. She's a tough 7-year-old, and it's just confusing because she's 7 and she's strong-willed and she's moody and emotional and loud and annoying and amazing and lovely, and it's just we're all I'm helping everyone in the family process living with a 7-year-old, because when you're 14, living with a 7-year-old is tough. Yeah. And And you know what? That's just what I'm grateful for. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to just have 3 children. Some people don't have the opportunity of being a parent. And I'm just so thankful to have a co parent who accepts me for who I am and is working with me with my flaws, and have children who understand that I'm totally imperfect and we're just all on this journey together.